effort, again, from some of the companies I'm involved in, there's a lot of effort going on in looking at groups of staff, teams, and saying, you know, what are we going to do, how are we going to react to this, what kind of roles are people in, and helping people to understand their new role, understand the
can I just take that bit in for a second, John and guys here, in terms of new roles, you have a new organisation, an organisation that has emerged from this process.
Right.
And having emerged from the process is going to be less people, not necessarily even the right people for the right jobs, whatever that it is. So let's just take it through the sequence of what happens at that stage. Obviously there is some sort of a vision has been in place, because otherwise we wouldn't have got through the whole of this far in the process, because if we didn't have a vision, it wouldn't work. So we've got a vision of where we want to be and what needs to happen. We've now got an organisation that doesn't necessarily fit just that. So just take us through, how do we manage to kind of make everything just fit in nicely like a jigsaw? Because at the moment it's a bit asymmetrical, if you can call it that.
Well, I think there's obviously has been new role created.
Yeah.
And we assume there's a performance management system, and somewhere in it, they may not always.
I wouldn't presume that.
It's probably got tired, and it probably hasn't been used as much in the boom.
Yeah.
We'll say we need a revitalised performance management system, and within it you have some sort of role clarity or role profile as part of the first stage. Having achieved some sort of clarity about what the job is, I think a lot of organisations are then working with the various individuals over a period of, it's short, weeks, in, you know, an hour in the morning, let's say once every 3 weeks, on a role clarity workshop, bringing people together, understanding the new way they're doing the business, especially in the larger organisations, looking at, is the new technology working or whatever, how's customer reacting to the new way we're doing business, and helping to craft out what the new role is over time. So pulling people together and asking them, how is it going? Okay, we've given you a job description, we've helped you with your role profile, but how in reality is it going? And that's a very simple way to do it. It's getting people involved in shaping the new way, if you like.
Yeah, well, one of the things there is that when you get to shape it and they know what the new role is, it's the practical reality. I know we've done exercises in this, and people are saying, okay, there's the change. What does it practically mean for me? Because I think all this thing is very good in concept. You know, people say we're going to go in a new direction, we're going to be doing various different things. But what does it mean for me in my role and the change, and actually figuring that out? Because you can't actually tell somebody that. You can do something.
That's why in the role clarity you work, look at it. You say, look, that was the job description we've given you. In reality, how's that working at the coalface with the customer? And how's it getting on for a maker? How's it getting on for Joe or Fred or Mary? And to share that and to ensure that we craft it in such a way that we're actually responding to what the customer had told us.
Frank, can I bring you in here? Because you've been very quiet there.
Unusually.
You've actually in your own businesses, where years ago before you went to the bar to be barrister, you were involved in actually affecting serious and major change. Because remember, we worked on that at that stage. Just taking at the point that we're at right now, just from your perspective, what were the sort of challenges you faced at that point?
Well, actually, just listening to John, it just occurred to me, just thinking about, as you rightly said, if you take this out of the textbook, and this is going to happen, who does this? Who's responsible for it?
Yeah.
I mean, is this a HR issue solely? Or how do you harness the resources of the organisation to achieve the sort of change? It strikes me also, just from listening to John, that at this point in time you're always going to be involved in catch-up. That the organisation's changing, the market is changing, the dynamic is changing, you've identified the changes, and who is it in the organisation that's responsible for bringing about the implementation of those sort of changes?
Okay, so when you did it, what did you do, Frank?
I forged ahead like a bull in a china shop. but I'm much wiser now.
So you were ahead of the pack, were you?
Well, the reality of life is that in certain circumstances, and the circumstances I tended to be involved in were crisis situations.
Right. And
in crisis situations, as we know, change happens faster, and with the benefit of hindsight, if one was doing it again, we were a bit of a blunt instrument in that we were implementing change.
Yeah.
Because it needed to happen fast, and that we weren't as delicate as we might have been.
Well, people can't afford to be delicate today, can they, Martin?
I think there's a balance to be struck. You know, there isn't it? Frank in the China shop and something else, where you have to drive it through because you have to drive it through. But what you really want to make sure is that when you're finished driving it through, that the new way of doing things gets embedded quickly. because there are a number of things that have to come together. We sort of touched on the process piece earlier. It is a wonderful opportunity to change the way you do things. Like John mentioned from the point of view of role clarity, but even more fundamentally than that, you have an opportunity to look at the way your business is engineered and structured. You know, do you need to make investments in IT, for example?
Yeah.
You know, are your systems right? And these are the times to make those decisions and to start driving them forward, because, as Frank says, you're playing catch up to a degree, because while your mind has been on the change, your customers who are better positioned are doing other things. So you're trying to catch up. So how do you make sure you get good investment decisions in place to see those through, to support your change? How do you get people involved in those type of changes? And remember, the balance here is you've now fewer people doing perhaps more, also looking to overlay it with these type of fundamental changes. But in my experience, if you get people into rooms and start looking at, well, how do we do it? From the customer's perspective, mixed expression outside in can really help you drive it through and embed it.
But actually, that's what particularly just reminded me, very much at that point in time, it's where you probably get the most result out of outside assistance. Because at the very point, the organisation is battered and bruised. It's come through a difficult scenario, there are new challenges ahead, and it has to react fast. And it's getting the structure in place to drive that, which in my experience, I found that you probably get the best use out of external resources who come in on a short-term basis to help you through that bit, to bed in those sort of changes of the organisation that you can then take forward.
I think the key word is to bed in, because I think a lot of the mistakes that are made are that you give somebody a new role or a new profile, or you say there's new changes, and in certain instances at least there is an assumption that the change will happen or the change will be implemented. For change to be embedded and sustained, it takes a lot more work than most people realise.
Okay, so just talk us through that, Mick. We've done all the work, we've defined what the roles are. New organisation going that direction rather than that direction. So in that here's what the roles are going to be, and we tell people what the roles are. So surely that's enough, is it not?
Well, you need to be specific there, I think. So you're probably, first of all, giving... It's not. I mean, you're giving them a vision, you're giving them a rationale for where you're going, and then you're saying, specifically, what this means for you, Peter, is that your job is this. And the behaviours we need from you, etc., are this. So
is that the important bit, Mick, that the actual behaviour, somebody's got to figure out what the behaviours are?
We've got to look at, you can talk all you like to try and change attitude. My firm belief from experience is you're far better off changing the behaviour and let the attitude catch up. So we've got to start changing behaviours.
But someone's got to define that. Who's going to define that?
Well, I think that's part of where HR comes in, or you get some support from outside.
But you're
effectively changing the culture.
You're talking HR. Hang on a second. You're talking HR defining the behaviour of some guy that's down in the sales department or down whatever department. Is that not surely the job of his director, of his manager?
Well, it's HR
the line manager.
Yeah, ultimately it is the job. In terms of the job, the behaviour aspects.
That's what Frank was saying. Who's going to make this happen? It's management. It can't be HR.
Oh no, management.
Begging all your pardons, guys, with HR. HR